Oscar Proud is a strange creature to me. He has all the ingredients necessary for me to look upon his character and say, God, I hate this, for two entirely different reasons. Yet, both are mixed in such a way that when I finish an episode, more often than not, I walk away thinking, specifically about him, that was fine. In fact, sometimes my thoughts on the character border on positive. And I think it's because, in a way the show just hasn't figured out how to do with Penny's friends, Louder and Prouder does a better job balancing his role as an antagonist with his role as Penny's father and his role as a tool of entertainment. So, in this video, let's look at the actions of Penny's crazy dad and figure out how the character who does the things I dislike the most in this show manages to walk away so unscathed. Why don't I hate this guy? So, let's start out with who Oscar is. He's Penny's strict, overprotective dad and an aspiring businessman who owns a snack factory, buys an amusement park, and annoys his family. It's kind of strange to say this, but at times I consider him the B-plot main character, because so often he's off having his own crazy dealings in a way not truly connected to what his daughter's going through. This is on top of the presence of Wizard Kelly, who, as I've said in a previous video, is more of a personal antagonist to him than anyone else. But what separates Oscar from other dumb dad stereotypes like Richard Watterson and Homer Simpson is that his flaws are more real. When Richard causes trouble because of his job, it's because the universe is literally breaking apart in protest to such an idea. When Oscar causes trouble because of his job, it's because he's a cheapskate who lets success and greed blind him, so he begins neglecting his family. In fact, Oscar is less of a dumb dad and more of a greedy dad. And greed is more familiar to people than paint-eating stupidity, as long as you don't spend too much time on Twitter. Now, Oscar does have what I would call normal cartoon dad shenanigans. In New Kids on the Block, after being traumatized by his daughter's literal overnight puberty, he starts being overprotected to the level of annoyance. But once you account for the exaggerated cartoon world they live in and the fact his daughter broke into a bear's habitat in the zoo, it's not that objectionable. It's even funny. And he's able to pretty much be redeemed for his attitude when he talks to his daughter about it and accepts that she's growing up. It all started with an orange basketball has him essentially instigate Penny's plot because he got into a dumb bet with Wizard Kelly. We see him be overprotective again, but also supportive, as it was his lessons that made Penny into such a great basketballer. When You Wish Upon a Roca might be my favorite example of this. It begins with Oscar getting in the way of his daughter's dates, but when Penny gets herself into student debt after Roca uses magic to send her to college, he gets himself sent into the same magic curse world thing she's stuck in to rescue her. And it has a sweet ending too. Even the baby episode, for all the dumb things he does in it, is about his thoughts for his son's well-being. Oscar is at his best as an extra but well-meaning parent who ultimately makes peace with his family for the things he does in their best interest. But that's not what he is all the time. In fact, those are kind of the exceptions to how he normally acts, for which we really have to look no further than Snackland. In that episode, Oscar's decided to start an amusement park, for some reason. And despite it being hideously unsafe and Suga Mama straight up telling him he's going to jail, it is inexplicably a success. And that success brings out all his worst traits as he crowns himself the snack master. His greed, his irresponsibility, his incompetence. I said for some reason, but we do know the reason. He stole the idea. And the worst thing success brings out of Oscar is his ability to not pay attention to his family while he has it, too preoccupied with the money he's making. Even going back to my example of him being a good dad, I brought up it all started with an orange basketball. That was kind of a Trojan horse, to be completely honest. Because the whole thing serves Oscar's desire to one-up Wizard Kelly for an old grudge, along with a throwaway joke about taking his wife. And he uses his daughter's skill to win, leading to her being overworked and causing complications in her relationships. Then they have a fight leading to him kicking out everyone at the basketball game, even the audience. And that's kind of where it ends. But his success isn't the only time Oscar looks bad. He also looks bad when Penny succeeds, because his greed is an oddly consistent tool the show uses to reset the status quo. In Bad Influencer, Penny's whole influencer career is destroyed by a scandal he created by taking bribes to keep her from saying anything bad about Wizard Kelly's products and insulting her audience. Sure, Maya's the one who revealed all of this to everyone, but she was trying to take down the girl because of the power going to her head. Oscar was just being greedy. Another example is Get In, which I find funny because I'd literally only ever watched 6 episodes of the show before this, and the Lilo and Stitch crossover I don't remember, and yet I still reacted the way I did the first time I saw it. Oscar spends the episode trying to figure out a way to pass Mr. Chimp off as a human so animal rights activists would get off his back, while Penny started a business that's basically Uber for kids. So Penny goes on a TV show to get money to fund her startup. And the first time I watched this, as soon as this happened,
What did you say your name was, sweetheart? Tell it to me right now, please.
Proud. Penny proud.
Proud?
my immediate thoughts were something to the effect of, wow, Oscar's really gonna ruin this without even being involved. Say what you will about the show, it's so good at establishing characterization, I can literally see the character's stupid decisions coming a mile away. Or it's predictable, pick one. But despite the judges being traumatized by her father, Penny still manages to win after her opponent is forced to forfeit, so the business gets started. And then Oscar manages to ruin it in an entirely different way because he gave his monkey a driver's license and it led to the company's stock plummeting. I do enjoy this show. So that's Oscar Proud. A man with good moments and bad moments, who cares about his family but is also really greedy in a way that almost always leads to their detriment. But you know, once all of this is put together, I really should dislike his character. His positive moments don't really balance out the negative for me. But I don't. And that's because the show employs a different trope I usually hate. One I touch upon briefly in my Fred Jones vs HBO's Velma video. A punching bag character. I'm sure it has an official name I'm just not going to look up. This is a character the universe seems to have a very targeted hatred of and is the victim of most of the bad things that happen to people. And this has a very good chance of being poorly handled. In the Velma video, I point out that the show either employs double standards in mocking Fred or uses his abusive parents to keep him from becoming a better, less mockable version, and the audience is still expected to laugh at the abused mentally ill teenager for being an idiot. But you know what? That's an extreme failure. For a more widely known example, have you ever felt bad for Squidward from SpongeBob? He's a much better executed example of this trope, but it can still inspire frustration to see things happen to him, especially when he hasn't actually done anything wrong. Oscar is very much following this trope. His two big business ventures are literally falling apart. Every time he gets a win, it's swiftly smacked down with a loss, and I think Suga Mama might literally just hate him. I mean, look at Grandma's Hand, an episode that probably deserves its own analysis, along with a deeper look at Oscar's relationship with his family. In that episode, Trudy takes on the role of the crazy parent when she locks the misbehaving Penny outside at night and Oscar becomes the reasonable one, giving his daughter money to stay with Suga Mama. Although, all things considered, that's barely better than her sleeping outside. And in that episode, we get a lot more information on his home life, and it was just terrible. The only time they really get along is in Puff Daddy when they both get into a dispute with Oscar's neighbors about the possibility that Suga Mama's dog, Puff, is the father of another dog's new puppies. This involves sneaking the puppies back and forth between their houses in increasingly convoluted ways until they wind up in court. TV court. More than one TV court. Eventually, Penny gives them away right before everyone finds out that the dog's actually worth $50,000 each. And the thing is, Louder and Prouder is actually really good at balancing the Oscar abuse because it's almost always framed as karmic retribution. When Oscar ruins Penny's influencer career, Suga Mama comes back, buff as hell, to exact retribution. Is it fair when Penny's the one who got her sent away? Logically, no. But because Penny's apologized and he hasn't, emotionally, I'm all for it. Especially because he lost all that money because he put it in Wizard Kelly's bank and the guy took it all back, making the whole thing a pointless transaction. Wait, that's literally fraud. When he ruins Penny's date by being obnoxious at the play in the college episode, it leads to him being shot out of a cannon. The basketball episode where he pushes Penny too far in the basketball game has him lose his bet and his best employee. And then he even has to work for Wizard Kelly. In the Snackmaster episode, he gets literally stepped on and what I can only describe as accordioned. Honestly, he might have deserved worse than that one. Gideon ends with him going to jail for giving a monkey a driver's license and flush down the toilet. By punishing Oscar for his wrongdoings in such a way, even if it doesn't stick due to the show's episodic nature, it basically washes, or should I say, burns his transgressions away and karmically balances him. When he fails or gets hurt, most of the time it's explicitly because of something he's done, and so the failure is just framed as his punishment. And even when it's not, you can trust he's done something to make the audience want to see him suffer. Sure, it would be better to have verbal communication and apologies like in the premiere, but in lieu of that, violence works. In this way, Oscar's character winds up being balanced in a way that I think fits the style Proud Family is going for. And so, as angry as I can get at him for being an idiot or being greedy or ruining things or letting himself get absorbed in whatever he's doing, I can walk away from an episode and feel more or less neutral on the character. What do you think of Oscar Proud and this video? Tell me in the comments below, and while you're at it, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Thank you and good day. Wait, I went this whole video without mentioning the worst episode.